So what I wanted to do for this episode is just kind of give a halfway mark. Player grades, player ratings so far. We're about halfway through the season, and it might be a little early to kind of assess how the season's going. Halfway, especially right before the Christmas period, which is the busy time. But um, just a little something. I don't want to give out like number grades or anything. I just want to say if I think the players had a good season, bad season so far, or need more information. But I think it's a good time to do this. So we're just gonna start down the line. We're gonna do the goalkeepers first. I'm gonna start with Michel Vorm, not Michael, Michel Vorm. I think is a good keeper. I don't think he gets enough game time. I really don't. I think he probably should be starting Europa League games. He definitely should be starting the League Cup games. I can understand Hugo Lloris having started Champions League and the actual Premier League because he's a better keeper than Michel Vorm. But Michel Vorm is not a bad keeper. I think when he comes in and he's rusty and you make a few mistakes and then a lot of people are like, oh, he sucks, but that's not fair because he doesn't get to play. Hugo Lloris starts almost every single game, and a couple of times that Vorm has started, yeah, I think he's done well, all things considered. Um, I would say he's a very good backup, and he's had a respectable few appearances. Um, you can't really say, well, he's had good, bad, or anywhere in between season because he doesn't play. So, and I don't think that's. I think he needs more games. That's just my opinion. Uh, Moving on to Hugo Lloris himself. I think outside of Courtois, he's the best keeper in the Premier League. I think he's just amazing. His shot stopping ability is his reaction time is up there with the best in the world, and I hate to use this term because it's just so cliche, but sweeper keeper. He's very good at that. You can almost count him as a defender. He's going to come out. His decision making is so good when it comes to coming out of the box to clear balls away that sometimes the defenders aren't going to get to them. And I think it really benefits the two center backs because they know that if a ball gets a little past them, Hugo Lloris is going to be there to clear. Where I would say he struggles a little bit right now, the last couple of games has been his distribution. I think sometimes his distribution can be a little erratic. This last game against Burnley, he did not have a good game. He made one really, really, really good block, but that was more instinct than anything. But I think he mostly had a bad game. There was a point in the very end of the game where he came out to punch and just absolutely missed the ball. And I swear it was slow motion for me, and I just knew that Burnley were going to score and tie it up. But no, fortunately that didn't happen. I think he could possibly get better at that. But if we're just going to say good, bad, or medium season, he's had a fantastic season. He's done very, very well. Let's go ahead and move on to our defenders, starting with the right back, Kyle Walker. Kyle Walker, I've said this in the past. I don't think he's a very good defender. He's better going forward, and that has been true since I've started watching, and since he's gotten the starting position at right back. Because I think when I started playing, I think it was Corluka, who was playing there, and he was awful. He was slow and clumsy, and then Kyle Walker came in. He's super fast, and he always uses speed to kind of make up for his defensive lacking abilities. But I think this season in particular, last season a little bit, but this season in particular, he's done very well. I think his defending has gotten better. He still relies on his speed. A couple of seasons ago when he got hurt, and I thought his speed was gone, and I just thought he had to go. We had to find someone new, but instead he's gotten better. If anything, he's gotten better. He's gotten better going forward, and he's definitely, I think, kind of settled down defensively. So I think he's had a good season. Let's switch over to Danny Rose, who has had a phenomenal season, I think, so far. He's another one that I thought was, when he first started getting the position, when he got started over, what was his name? Benoit Asuakoto, I think that was his name back in the day, the South African dude. Was he South African? I think he was. And I couldn't understand why they started him over Asuakoto, because Danny Rose was awful back then. He was just terrible, and everyone kept talking like, "Oh, he's a hero. He scored that wonder goal against Arsenal." Yeah, that's fine, and he'll always live in our hearts and whatever. But that's not good enough. One goal against your bitter rivals isn't good enough to start. But this season, last season too, and this season he's just been playing really, really good defense. I really can't find too much flaw in his game. He can still get caught out of position a little bit, but much better this season, and I think he's had a good season, a good one. Going forward, obviously he's really creating a lot of chances, so can't really complain. Jan Vertonghen, I think he's the second best center back in the league. He's had a really good season. I think his decision making can sometimes our defenders can get a little cocky playing out of from the back because they're so good with the ball. They're not clumsy like most center backs. Jan Vertonghen is very good with the ball. He made an incredible run. This last game, he made a really good run, picked up the ball in our own half and just made this incredible run. Of course, he scuffed the shot at the end because he's not a forward, but he made a really good run. He's really good with the ball. And it's good to have him on the left because he can play left back if necessary, and he can play the ball out of danger. I think sometimes we tend to try to play out from the back a little too much, and that cost us the Burnley goal. That was Kyle Walker's fault, not Jan Vertonghen. But just as a general rule, we're told to play out from the back, and sometimes that can get us in trouble. But overall, I think Jan Vertonghen has had a really good season, especially considering that the next guy I'm going to talk about, Toby Alderweireld, has been hurt a lot. And, last season it was the opposite. Toby was with us almost, I think, the entire season. I don't think he missed a single game. And Jan was the one that was hurt, but now it was backwards. Jan's the one that's been healthy, and Toby's been hurt. When they're together, I don't think there's a better center back pairing in the definitely not in the league. And I would say they're probably in the top 3 best center back pairings in the world. Whatever, I'm biased. It doesn't matter. I think they're very, very good together. I think he's the best defender in the league. And that's why I said Jan's the second best. Because I think Toby Alderweireld is the best center back in the league, hands down, easily. No one comes close. He is such a good distributor of the ball. He and Jan Vertonghen have some sort of like telepathy with each other that they just know exactly where they're supposed to be. He was kind of rusty coming back against Manchester United. He was a little bit rusty, and he missed this last game with a little back problem. Hopefully, he gets to come back because we need these two together. We need that back four plus Lloris. I mean, we still have the best defense in the league, and considering all the injuries we've had, we had the best defense in the league last year, easily. And we need these 4 players playing together consistently in order to kind of make a run here at the second half of the season. But I think, he's had a good season when he's played, but I can't give him a good because he hasn't played, kind of like the Michel Vorm situation. As far as the backups, Kevin Wimmer had a couple of games. He's done well, I think. Didn't he have a couple of games this year? I think he has. I mean, he's a good defender. He definitely fits right in there. I don't know why we're playing Eric Dyer down there instead of Kevin Wimmer, but I mean, whatever. I think he's a good player. I think he deserves more game time, definitely. And I definitely think he's a good defender. He hasn't played much, so I can't give him a grade either way. Kieran Trippier, kind of the same situation. It's hard to knock our 2 backs, our 2 left and right back, out of starting because they're doing so well this season. But Kieran Trippier, the times he has played, he has done well. I think he gets forward not as well, but I think he not as well as Kyle Walker, but I think he defends better. And I would say the same thing about Ben Davies. I think he gets forward a little bit more, but he's a better defender, I think. he's not a full complete package. He's not like as far as being the complete player. Yeah, Danny Rose is better, but I think Ben Davies is a little bit of a better defender. He makes some mistakes, but I think that also has to do with being rusty. You don't play. But I think both of them have had decent showings when they have gotten to play. Um, I think that's everyone for defending. I think Cameron Carter Vickers has he played? I don't think he has. I don't think he has. I think he's been on the bench a couple of times, but I don't think he's actually played. So I can't really say that he's pretty impossible to give him a grade. Midfielders. Let's start with the defensive midfielder, Victor Wanyama. I think he's fit right in, and I feel bad for feel bad for Eric Dyer because Eric Dyer was one of our best players last season, and he can't get a sniff in because Victor Wanyama is amazing. I thought he was gonna come in and do well, like be a physical presence in the midfield defensively. But I thought he was going to be clumsy. I thought he was going to be just fouling a lot, and I thought he was going to be good for yellow cards and red cards, multiple times per season, or like maybe a couple of times per month, yellow card, and then be suspended, and then not really get any consistency going. But I was wrong. And Eric Wanyama has been probably our most consistent player, and he has been just an absolute steal. What a great buy. I think he's done a phenomenal job. As far as Eric Dyer, well, I do feel bad because Wanyama's played so well that he can't, like I said, he can't get a sniff at the starting 11. He's played right back, he's played center back, and he's played defensive mid. And I think he's good at everything that he does. He's best defensive midfield, but he's not going to get that spot right now unless Wanyama gets hurt. But I think he's had a good season. I think a lot of people say his versatility is working against him, and that might be true, but the fact that we have him and he is versatile, I think that is a really good thing for the team. And I think he's had a good season too. Moving on, still center midfielders. Talking about Moussa Dembele. I think when he is on his best, he's our best player. He gets the ball in the midfield, and he distributes better than anyone I can think of. He doesn't lose the ball. You can't get the ball from him. I don't know how he looks so awkward when he dribbles, but you cannot take the ball from him. He is the best. I don't think there's anyone better in the league at keeping the ball and just dribbling out of pressure as he is. And he looks so awkward doing it. It looks like he's going to fall over any second, but he's just such a good dribbler. And I used to have a problem with him just playing side to side, but he's, I think, played really well. Unfortunately, injury has been a problem for him this season. We need him at full strength because I think with him and Victor Wanyama in the midfield, we have a really solid midfield. Unfortunately, he can't stay healthy. Tom Carroll hasn't really gotten very much play. And I think that's partially because Moussa Dembele has been so good, but also because Harry Winks has been so good. It's crazy to think about how Tom Carroll was getting his chances, here and there over the last couple of seasons, and now that Harry Winks has emerged, Tom Carroll can't get in the bench, which is kind of sad because I always liked Tom Carroll. Tom Carroll to me he's always been good, and I really wish he would get some play time. If not, we gotta loan him. I don't think it's time for him to be loaned. I think it's time for him to move on. I really like Tom Carroll, but he's not going to play right now. Not with Harry Winks playing as well as he is. I think Harry Winks has had a great season for the number of times that he's started. It hasn't been many because, he's no Moussa Dembele, he's no Christian Eriksen. But I think he's really emerged this season. I think this is his breakout season. Really, really good season for him so far. Let's see. Who is next? We got Josh Onoma, who's had a few appearances here and there. I don't think it's been enough to say that he's had a good, bad, or in between. I think he's done well when he's come on. He hasn't done anything spectacular, But then again, he usually comes on late in the games, and what are you going to do? But at that point, there's nothing to do. Same thing with George Kevin Kudu. I wish he would start more often, because I think he is one of those players that will dribble at defenders. He is fast, and I think he should get more chances, especially when we're trying to break teams down. When they come to White Hart Lane, teams sit back and defend. And I think he would be one of those players that could kind of destabilize defenders because he will run at them. We tend to play a lot of possession ball in the opposition half, and that gives the other teams time to kind of get back defensively. I think a player like him right now, without Eric Lamela, would really create problems for defense. So he hasn't played that much. I wish he'd get more games in, though. I really do. But let's talk about Eric Lamela. I felt like he was one of our best players last season, and he has not gotten any game time. He's been hurt this entire time. It's not good. I really feel bad because I think last season he was one of our most important players, and he just needs to get back. That's all I'm going to say about that. Let's see, who else? I'm going to call Heung-min Son a midfielder because he does play. I mean, he can play forward, but he's been playing midfield alongside Christian Eriksen and Dele Alli. He's had a really good season. Really, really, really good season. He is fast. He dribbles at defenders, which is something I really like. And he scored very important goals when Harry Kane was out. And I think he has been one of our best players this season. So I'll give him a resounding thumbs up. Christian Eriksen has recently picked it back up. Because beginning of the season, I think he was just kind of there. He wasn't playing at his best. I think at his very, very best, he is one of the top 10 players in the league. Easily. I think he's better than Dembele. I think Dembele is more important to the team because of what he does. But I think Christian Eriksen, when he is at his best, he is the best player on the team. Okay, I guess I worded that wrong with Dembele. I think Dembele is the most important player for us in terms of getting the team working together. But Christian Eriksen is just hands down the best player we have. He is just so good at everything he does. And when he is at his best is when we are at our most dangerous. So I was gonna give him a bad grade if it hadn't been for the last 3-4 games where he's really picked it up. And I think he's been phenomenal. And we need that Christian Eriksen. So I'll give him a good grade. Not great, but good. Who have I not talked about? Let's see. Oh, yes. Moussa Sissoko. 30 million pound signing from Newcastle. Really good Euros with France. I think best player on the French team. And I'm not the only one that said that. And I'm not just saying that because everyone else is saying it. But I think he was definitely better than Paul Pogba on the French team. And he has done nothing for us. He has been absolutely a waste of money. The only redeeming quality that he has is that I think he's working hard. He has not contributed. Let me start over. When he was playing, he was doing nothing. He ran a lot and did a lot, but his tackles were clumsy. His passing was bad. His shots were laughable. And then the last 2 or 3 games, it's kind of come together, and his effort has kind of actually led to something. He had the assist for one of Christian Eriksen's goals a couple of games ago. I don't remember exactly, but he did have an assist. I was like, finally he contributed. That was literally the first contribution he's had the entire season. He's had more yellow cards than he has any kind of positive offensive play. But I will give him that. He works really hard. It's not like other players that we've had in the past, like Emmanuel Adebayor, who couldn't care less about. He was just walking around. Moussa Dembele at least gives the effort. He hasn't done anything. I'm going to give him a bad. He's had a bad season. but at least he's trying. At least he's putting in the effort, and I can appreciate that at least. We need him to start doing something because the last few games he's done really well on that right side. He's put in some good crosses. He's that against Burnley, man. He was just running through defenders. Just like you couldn't stop him. He's super fast. He's super strong, and he's got talent. He just hasn't put it together. He's struggled, and I think he's had a bad season so far. But we need him if he's going to contribute. He's going to have to kind of put it together. And now the forwards. I'm going to give Vincent Janssen kind of the same thing. He works really hard, and he has actually done very well, kind of filling in that forward spot. He's a different player than Harry Kane. And I think he's done very well. He's created lots of chances. He's actually contributed to the team, especially when it was him and Son playing together. I think they played really well together. He's got to score. And of course now he's injured. I don't want to give him a bad rating just because he hasn't scored, because he's worked really hard and he has contributed. He has played an important part when he plays. He holds up the ball very well. He does create space for the other players, and I think he's done well. I'm afraid he's going to turn into our next Soldado. Who Soldado was one of my favorite players in Spain, and when we signed him, I was ecstatic. And then he didn't do anything, and it's not because he didn't try. And I think that's why he became a fan favorite, because you could tell Soldado wanted to score. He wanted to contribute, and he had a hard time. And I think Vincent Janssen is the same. He comes from the Dutch league where he was the top scorer in the league. He's got so much expectation. There's so much expectation that he's going to do well because he was the best scorer in one of those leagues. I would say the Eredivisie is a second-tier league, but that doesn't mean he should be scoring more is what I'm trying to say. And he's had his opportunities and he's kind of missed them. I think he just needs some time to relax. He needs to fit. I think, first season, I expected him to score a few goals, but I didn't expect him to have an amazing season. I think he's going to be like Lamela, where he's going to need a couple of seasons to get used to the league and really make a name for himself. But I want to give him, I think he's had a good season. I won't say good, medium. Definitely not bad, because he has contributed. But he hasn't contributed in the goals, so I can't give him a good. So I would say he's had a medium season. And then Harry Kane, who again injured, but has come back in a big way. He's had his issues the last couple of games. It was his fault that we lost to stupid Manchester United. We shouldn't have lost that game. We played poorly, but we still played even with them, which that's why it's so infuriating, because we played poorly. And we still should have at least come away with a draw out of that game. But Harry Kane's pretty much played Mkhitaryan in on goal that game. But anyway, since he's come back from injury, he's played well. The last 2-3 games, he has not played well. He's having a draw. I wouldn't say he's a streaky player, but he's had a couple of games now where he has not played well. He's been isolated. Thankfully, we have other players that can pick up the slack. But I would say that since he came back from injury, he's lit it up pretty well. And overall, I'm going to say this. We've yet to play our best 11. We haven't played our best 11 the entire season. We haven't had that. We haven't had that luxury. We're still in 5th place, and we're only 1 point behind 4th. We've only had 2 losses. One against the team that's going to win the title, and one that was just a lucky win for United. And that's not biased. That's fact. You watch that game, we should not have lost. And then Chelsea, like I said, well, what are you going to do? That one hurt, but they're going to win the league, so what are you going to do? And to think about that, we haven't played our best 11 yet. I think that kind of gives me a little bit of optimism going forward. We need our best 11 now, so they can get used to playing with each other again and make a run, late February, March, April. That's when we need the team to come together. Because our best 11 is Harry Kane up top. Oh, I forgot about Dele Alli. How could I forget about him? I think he's had a quiet season. I think he's shown the glimpses of last season's glorious. Oh my goodness, he was so good last year. And I think he's showing glimpses. I think he needs to. I don't like how he flops. He flops way too much. He has a temper. He needs to grow up. He would be a lot better if he stayed on his feet. That's just a fact, and I would say that about any player that flops, because when you sometimes you'll get a chance to score if you stay on your feet. Look at, and I use this all the time. Back maybe like 10 years ago, Leo Messi versus Ronaldo. Cristiano Ronaldo is faster and stronger than Leo Messi, but he flopped all the time. That's all he did. He just fall over, right? And complain and cry and whine. And Messi instead never flops. He stays on his feet and he scores goals all the time. Now that he's grown and doesn't do that as much, you see how much better Ronaldo is when he stays on his feet. I would say that about any player. If you stay on your feet, you might have a chance to score. If you fall over, you're not going to get the PK call. You can't flop 3 or 4 times a game and expect the ref to call those in your favor. You can't do that. You have to stay on your feet. You're not going to draw the foul every time you flop, and eventually the refs aren't going to believe you. And I think that's something that's happening to him. Because I think sometimes he does get fouled, but the refs don't believe him because he makes such a meal out of it. Stay on your feet, and then, ride the tackle out, and then maybe you score. Because I've seen so many times Messi he gets pushed off the ball, stays on his feet, and manages to score. I mean, yeah, he's off balance, and yeah, he got fouled. But that when the ref sees that you get hit and you're off balance and you try to stay on your feet, I think they're more likely to call a foul. Whereas if you see that the contact is coming and then you just automatically jump in the air because you see it coming, I think like the couple games ago against Swansea, I think it was Swansea, was it? Yeah, the 5-0, where he earned the penalty kick. He was looking for that. Did he get hit? Was there contact? Yes. But was it a foul? No. Like, he was dragging his leg in order to look for the contact, and I don't agree with that. I don't like that he does that. I think he should stay on his feet, especially because he's so tricky. I mean, he can nutmeg. Like, the player knows he's going to get nutmegged, and he nutmegs him anyway. And he's so good with the ball. I just think he needs to grow up a little bit. I think he's had a decent season. Not good, but not bad. But anyway, enough of that. I think our best 11, Harry Kane, obviously. Dele Alli, Christian Eriksen, Lamela. Sorry, Heung-min Son. I think he's really good, but I think he barely misses out. I think Dembele and right now Wanyama are our midfield, and then obviously our back four. That's already been good, and Lloris. And I think you put in Heung-min Son, Eric Dyer, and right now Harry Winks, maybe Musa Sissoko as well. And then you have a really good bench that you can just, slot a player in and maybe kind of turn the tables on a team if you can't break them down. I think Musa Sissoko and maybe even Nkudu can be the players that you throw in if you can't get around a team. And same with Son, you just throw them in. They're going to run at defenders and stuff like that. But considering we really haven't played our best 11, not at all the entire season. It gives you hope. It really does. I think if we can manage to get those players healthy and get them playing, I think we can make a good run. Because I don't see Manchester City maintaining any sort of like really, really good form. And I don't think Liverpool are going to do it either. I think, despite what happened recently, I think Chelsea and Arsenal are probably the 2 best teams in the league. So I think there are 2 slots open right now. And I don't think Liverpool or Manchester City are locks, either of them. I think the last 2 spots are pretty wide open. So I think if we can make a good run here in the second half of the season, I think we can definitely finish in the top 3. And who knows? Arsenal might slip up. We might be able to slip. But I mean, Chelsea's going to win. I think that one's done. So that's 1 slot done. There are 3 slots left. Who's going to win them and in what order? You got a few teams that are contending for those 3 spots. So, but I'm pretty confident that we can make a good run if we get our starting 11 going here. But anyway, that's going to do it for this this episode, this little talk. I hope everyone has a Merry Christmas, and yeah, let's see what happens next year. I think it's going to be interesting. We have Chelsea, I think, the 1st or the 4th of January, so that's going to be crazy. We got 2 winnable games, tough games but winnable, coming up, and then we play Chelsea. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. All right, guys, I hope everyone has a happy Christmas and a good New Year's. See you guys.